Have you ever wondered why salt, one of the simplest elements in your kitchen, is believed to hold deep spiritual power in Islam? For centuries, Muslims across cultures have used salt not just for flavoring food, but as a means of spiritual protection and purification. From removing black magic and evil eye to inviting the mercy and blessings of Allah into the home, salt plays a quiet but powerful role in traditional Islamic practices. In this video, we'll uncover the forgotten Sunnah of using salt, explore how it's tied to the healing verses of the Qur'an, and learn why so many believers turn to this natural element when seeking spiritual refuge. But remember, it's not the salt that holds the power. It's your faith, your intention, and your connection with Allah. Stay with us as we explore the spiritual power of salt in Islam and how you can apply it with meaning and mindfulness today. 1. Salt in the Sunnah. In Islamic tradition, salt holds a subtle yet notable presence in the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One of the lesser-known but meaningful practices associated with the Prophet is his recommendation to begin and end meals with a small amount of salt. This act, while simple, reflects a deeper layer of prophetic wisdom that encompasses both physical and spiritual well-being. According to some narrations found in classical Islamic sources, the use of salt before and after eating is believed to aid in balancing the body's internal functions. Traditional scholars have linked this habit to stimulating digestion, regulating appetite, and cleansing the palate. Although these health-related benefits are secondary to the spiritual teachings of Islam, they show how the Sunnah often aligns with natural wisdom. Spiritually, beginning and ending meals with salt is seen as a humble way to start the act of eating with awareness and gratitude. Salt, being a basic and universal substance, reminds one of the simplicity and blessings in even the most common provisions. It serves as a reminder that sustenance is from Allah, and that even the smallest items we consume are part of His mercy. Moreover, this practice cultivates mindfulness, a concept deeply rooted in Islamic etiquette, adab, related to eating. Starting with salt subtly prepares the individual to eat consciously, to remember Allah before nourishment, and to observe the boundaries of moderation. While not a binding religious obligation, the use of salt in this way is cherished by many Muslims as a Sunnah practice that fosters both spiritual reflection and connection to the lifestyle of the Prophet. It reflects how Islam infuses even routine acts with meaning, allowing believers to transform daily habits into acts of worship. 2. Spiritual belief. In various Islamic cultures, salt is widely believed to carry spiritual significance, particularly in the realm of protection against unseen harms such as sihr, black magic, and the ayn, evil eye. While the Qur'an and authentic hadith emphasize reliance on Allah for protection, traditional scholars and spiritual healers have long recognized natural elements, like salt, as tools that, when paired with sincere faith and remembrance of Allah, can serve a protective function. The idea behind using salt in spiritual practices is not rooted in superstition, but in a broader understanding of the unseen world, alam al-ghaib. Just as certain verses of the Qur'an, like Ayat-ul-Kursi and Surah Al-Falaq, are known for their protective qualities, some natural elements are viewed as means to aid in repelling spiritual harm, if used with proper niyyah, intention, and within the framework of Islamic belief. Spiritual practitioners in Islamic tradition, particularly those familiar with ruqyah sharia, Islamic healing, often recommend salt for cleansing the home or body from negative energies or malevolent influences. This belief is grounded in the idea that harmful entities, like jinn, involved in black magic, may be repelled by environments filled with Allah's remembrance and purified through simple, natural elements. It's important to clarify that the power attributed to salt is never independent. Islam strictly rejects the idea that any object has intrinsic power outside of Allah's will. Rather, salt is regarded as a means, wasila, through which Allah's protection may manifest. Its coarse, purifying nature serves as a symbolic and sometimes physical agent in the healing process, but it must always be accompanied by dua, Quranic recitation, and strong reliance on Allah. This understanding helps believers distinguish between cultural practices and those rooted in Islamic spiritual principles. 3. Spiritual use. One of the common spiritual practices among Muslims, especially those familiar with traditional healing methods, is sprinkling salt in the corners of a home. This act is not merely cultural. It is often performed with the intention of purifying the space from negative spiritual influences. Homes are not just physical structures in Islam. They are spaces where barakah, blessing, should reside, and where acts of worship, remembrance, and peace are meant to flourish. The corners of a house are symbolically significant in many Islamic spiritual traditions. They are considered places where energy can stagnate or where harmful entities may linger unnoticed. By sprinkling coarse salt in these areas, often after performing ruqyah or reciting protective verses, believers seek to spiritually cleanse the home, creating an environment that is less hospitable to negative forces, including those linked to black magic or the evil eye. This practice is particularly widespread in households that have experienced unusual disturbances, such as frequent arguments, illness without clear cause, or feelings of unease. While Islam does not promote superstition, it does acknowledge the reality of unseen forces and encourages taking both spiritual and practical steps to address them. The act of sprinkling salt is usually accompanied by heartfelt dua and specific Quranic verses, turning it into a conscious, faith-driven action. It's not the physical scattering of salt alone that is impactful, but the spiritual state and trust in Allah with which it is done. Importantly, this ritual is seen as a preventative measure rather than a cure-all. It is a form of seeking Allah's protection, not relying on the material itself. Like locking one's door to prevent intruders, sprinkling salt is a way of spiritually fortifying one's home, always coupled with reliance on Allah, remembrance, and righteous living. 4th, Quranic recitation. In the spiritual use of salt within Islamic tradition, one of the most important elements is pairing it with specific Quranic recitations. This transforms a simple physical act into a powerful spiritual practice grounded in divine words. Among the most commonly recited verses during this process are Ayat-ul-Kursi, Surah Baqarah 2255, and the closing verses of Surah Baqarah. These verses are known for their strong protective qualities and are often used in ruqyah, Islamic spiritual healing. Ayat-ul-Kursi is renowned for its immense significance in protecting against the evil of jinn, black magic, and the evil eye. When recited with conviction and tawakkul, trust in Allah, it becomes a shield for the believer and their household. Likewise, the last 2 verses of Surah Baqarah are emphasized in various authentic hadiths as providing nightly protection from harm when recited regularly. When believers sprinkle salt in their homes and accompany the act with these powerful verses, they are not engaging in ritual for ritual's sake. Rather, they are invoking Allah's words and His protection, reminding themselves and the spiritual world that this home is under divine guardianship. It is also common to recite Surah Al-Falaq and Surah An-Nas, which are direct supplications seeking refuge from all forms of evil, both seen and unseen. This combination, natural material and sacred speech, demonstrates how Islam weaves the physical and spiritual worlds together. The salt acts as a medium, but the true source of protection is the Qur'an and the one who revealed it. Through this practice, Muslims cultivate a home environment immersed in remembrance of Allah, where negativity is dispelled and divine tranquility is invited in. Ultimately, it is the sincerity of faith and the strength of the Qur'an that gives such actions their real impact. Power of intention. A central teaching in Islam is that true power and effectiveness lie not in physical objects, but in the will of Allah and the intention, niyyah, behind every action. This principle is especially important when engaging in practices that involve natural elements, such as the use of salt for spiritual protection. Salt, in and of itself, holds no divine power. Its benefit is only realized when it is used as a means, a conduit, for invoking Allah's help and blessings. Islam strongly discourages placing trust in created things. Relying solely on material substances, even with good intentions, can border on shirk, associating partners with Allah, if one begins to believe that these objects have independent power. Therefore, the key to benefiting from practices like sprinkling salt lies in the purity of one's faith and the belief that only Allah can bring harm or benefit. When a believer uses salt with the understanding that it is simply a permissible and symbolic act done to accompany Quranic recitation and supplication, the act becomes meaningful and aligned with Islamic teachings. It reflects a deeper spiritual awareness that outward actions must always be tied to inner belief. Without proper intention and remembrance of Allah, even the most traditional spiritual practices lose their value and can become empty rituals. This concept extends to all forms of Islamic worship and daily life. Whether offering prayer, giving charity, or seeking protection from harm, the sincerity of the heart determines the worth of the action. Therefore, when using salt or any other natural means, Muslims are reminded that their ultimate refuge is in Allah alone. The physical act serves only as a supportive step, while the real strength comes from a heart fully reliant on its Creator and a soul rooted in trust, remembrance, and submission. The spiritual power of salt in Islam reminds us that even the simplest things can become sources of healing when paired with sincere faith and remembrance of Allah. May your home be filled with peace, protection, and divine blessings. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Inner Deen for more Islamic wisdom and spiritual guidance. Before you go, type this beautiful prayer in the comments. Ya Allah, protect my home and heart from all harm and fill them with your light. Let's spread positivity and dua together.